The surgeon told him only one thing before the operation: "You gave me water when I was dying." The old soldier stood in a hospital corridor, unable to speak. A stranger he had saved 40 years ago walked into the room where his granddaughter lay on the table. He could hear the monitors beeping behind the closed door. He could feel the cold wall against his back. Everything he loved now depended on the hands of a man he had once left lying in the mud. This is how that circle closed. His name was Henry, and he was 23 years old during a war most people have tried to forget. He grew up in a small town where everyone knew his father, a quiet man who fixed clocks and never raised his voice. Henry inherited that stillness, the ability to look at something broken and see what it needed instead of what it had done. By the time he was freezing in a European winter, doing what soldiers do, that quality had become something his companions found uncomfortable. The other men in his unit respected him. He carried the wounded when no one asked him to. But Henry could not stop seeing the enemy as men, and in war, that was dangerous. One gray morning, after a firefight, the field was scattered with bodies and smoke. Henry found a young soldier from the other side lying in a bomb crater. The boy was barely 18, younger than anyone should be to die in the mud. He was bleeding from a wound in his side, too weak to lift the rifle lying next to him. His eyes were glassy with shock. Henry's unit had moved ahead. No one would see. No one would ask. Henry knelt down, uncapped his canteen, and held water to the boy's cracked lips. He bandaged the wound with his own supplies. He dragged the enemy soldier to the edge of a road where medics would find him. When his unit discovered what he had done, they called him a fool. One man shoved him against a wall and said mercy would get them all killed. Henry said nothing. He had done what his hands decided to do before his mind could stop them. The boy survived. He was taken to a prison camp and recovered. After the war ended, he went home. But something in him had shifted. He could not forget a stranger's hands holding a canteen, the cool water, the refusal to kill when killing was simple. He told his family he wanted to become a doctor. They had no money, so he worked in a factory by day and studied by night. It took him 8 years to earn his degree. He trained in surgery and learned to repair what was broken inside the human body. He built a career saving people who could not save themselves. He moved to a small country and took a position at a regional hospital. He spent decades in operating rooms, steady, quiet, remembering what one act of mercy had done for him. 40 years passed. Henry went home, raised a family, grew old, and never spoke of the boy in the crater. Then his granddaughter, traveling abroad on a school trip, collapsed from a ruptured appendix that had gone unnoticed too long. She was rushed to a small hospital in the country where the boy, now a man named Martin, worked as a surgeon. The infection was spreading. The local doctors said only one surgeon could perform the operation in time. When Henry arrived, frantic and gray-faced, Martin looked at him across the waiting room for a long moment. The old soldier's eyes, the same eyes that had looked down at a dying boy 4 decades ago. Martin walked over and placed his hand on Henry's shoulder. "I know you," he said. "You gave me water when I was dying." Then he turned and walked into the operating room. The operation lasted 3 hours. The granddaughter recovered. Henry sat outside the recovery room, holding a paper cup of water a nurse had handed him, and wept without making a sound. Here's what this story holds: the mercy you give when no one would blame you for cruelty does not disappear. It moves through the world like water underground, invisible, traveling far, rising in places you will never see. Every time you choose compassion when it costs you, you are planting something. You may never watch it grow, but it grows. The paper cup in Henry's hand held the same thing his canteen had held 40 years before. Water, given when it was needed. The world does not forget what you give, and sometimes, it brings it back to the ones you love.